You know, most guitar channels don't have the courage to reveal the one secret hack to improve your guitar playing. It's practice. All it is practice. You just have to practice a lot. Oh, and also take B12 injections. But there are some things you can do to speed it up. So today we're going to talk about this little 2-fret guitar hack that'll make you see the fretboard in totally different ways. All right? So you probably already have a couple chords under your belt. Right now we're just going to focus on G major and C major. But I want to talk about just some connections I made that really helped take my playing to the next level as far as exploring the fretboard and also just kind of like really improving my just overall guitar playing, whether it's rhythm guitar or lead guitar or whatever. And it all comes from seeing available notes in patterns that are impossible to forget, okay? So what I mean by that, let's start on the 3rd fret of the low E string, right? Pointer finger is just going to grab the 3rd fret. This is a G note, that's why it's the first note in your G chord. But something that is cool is when you might play around and do something like this. Something like that, right? Sounds like you know what you're doing. And it's really easy to do because you're just going 2 frets at a time. Okay, like if you see my hand, it doesn't even look like I'm doing much. I'm just moving it, right? And that's what I have noticed with some of like the best guitar players of all time. Sometimes you watch their hands to try to maybe learn something, and it doesn't look like they're really doing that much. It looks super, super easy for them. And this is probably the first really fluid thing that I added to my playing that is impossible to forget because it's literally just 2 frets at a time. So again, most guitars have little dots on the odd numbers of the frets, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with this G, like I said, and then we're just gonna play this. Okay, I'm just going 3 notes at a time, just the odd numbers, and I'm doing it with the same fingers. You can either use your pointer and your ring finger or your pointer and your pinky. Again, but that 1 step, 2 fret interval is gonna be the thing that we're gonna really drill down on and move around. All right, so we start with that 3rd fret, then we go to the 5th fret and the 7th fret. Okay, so these notes are G, A, and B, but then we're gonna do the same thing starting on the A string 5th fret, which your pointer finger is already lined up with. Okay, so we've got G, A, B, D, E, F sharp. That's why it's good to know the names of the notes, not totally necessary for right now, but again, 2 frets at a time. So you can see this as an exercise, as a scale, however you want to look at it, it's totally up to you. But there is like a really great musical theory explanation for why this is going to help you in everything that you'll ever do from now on. So we've got these 6 notes, and then we can actually add 1 more. Let's go to the D string pointer finger. So this will end up being the 7th fret on the D string. So G, A, B, D, E, F sharp, A. All right? So if you know anything about music theory, you know that every key has 7 notes. So if we're thinking G major right here, the notes would be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now this is a very interesting, easy way to play almost the entire scale, right? G, A, B, D, E, F sharp, A. You've noticed we've only skipped 1 real note in this key, right? G, A, B, D. We skipped a C. All right, so this chord, the scale has a C in it that we're not being given by this little hack pattern, however you want to look at it, right? So what we can do is we can just go down a string and find the C on the A string, the 3rd fret on the A string. And now we do that same exact shape. We start on the 3rd fret, we go to the 5th fret and the 7th fret, just the inlays, just the dotted frets, and then down a string, and then end up on the G string. So this one little thing, and then repeated. And between those 2 shapes, you have all the notes in the entire key, which is really, really important. So just practice this, then C. And we'll talk more about how you can incorporate this into your chords after I tell you about the sponsor of this video, Elixir Strings. You may have already noticed that my Martin D18 sounds the best that it has ever sounded because I just put fresh elixirs on this. I've had this guitar, love this Dreadnought guitar. I've had this for 2.5 months now, 2.5 months now. And I don't like being wasteful, so for the first couple months, I slogged through it using the stock strings on it. But again, I don't want to just rip those strings off because those strings were perfectly fine. They got the job done, didn't want to be wasteful, so I waited until they were dead to finally put my beloved Elixir strings on it, and now it finally feels like the guitar that I've been waiting for the entire time, right? Let's give a moment of congratulations to myself, a little pat on the back for being so ecologically friendly and waiting those terrible, terrible weeks till I could get my beloved Elixirs on this guitar. But now it finally sounds and feels the way that, I'm accustomed to it feeling. Because, again, Elixir strings are going to last you way longer. I put 12s on this. I've got the 80/20 bronze ones right here. So, show Elixir some love. I have an affiliate link in the description of this video. Check it out. And then you can kind of get this hat going yourself. All right? So now let's use what we learned in just that 1-2 fret at a time little pattern through the fretboard, and then maybe start adding them to chords. All right? So one cool thing that I like to do in my playing a lot is add like a little riff that sounds like this. If I start with that G chord. All right? It's just, it sounds kind of fast when you do it like that, but if you break it up, it's actually really easy, and it's essentially just that same thing with just a couple kind of like back and forths within it. So let's go through this lick, this connector real quick. It's going to be, that's the first part. So it's G, A, B, D, B, D. That's the first kind of half. And then I'm going to do that same shape. So G, A, B, D, B, D, D, E, F sharp, A. Okay, and I'm alternate picking this, so down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Or you can do it like that. So the first 3 notes, picked, hammer on, slide. There it is. Get good with that. Or pick it, right? But eventually, if you do that hammer on, you can get it really fast. And the interesting thing about this is, you can think of yourself, you can think of this exercise as playing through 6/7 of the scale, like we talked about before, or we can think about the same kind of pattern, that root note. It's second, it's major third, and then it's fifth, just starting again on the 5th note. So G to D, right? G, I'm kind of spelling out a G major chord or a G add 2 chord because I'm getting the notes from a major chord and adding that second note. And then ending up there, right? So it's kind of like I have 2 pieces, the G piece and then the D piece. And then the cool thing about this is you can kind of keep doing that over and over again throughout the strings, all right? Let's start it on the octave G next. So again, this is the lowest G on your guitar, in a standard tuned guitar. And then the octave would be the 5th fret on the D string. You can always find an octave by going 2 strings down, 2 frets higher from the lower E and A strings, right? So we can do this here. And it's the exact same exercise, essentially, that same little 2 fret trick until you get to the B string. Then it becomes even easier as you go up the neck. All right, what I mean by that is because the distance between the G string and the B string is actually just a 3rd instead of a 4th. So we have to compensate by just going diagonally back 1. All right, so we've got 5 on the D string, 7 on the D string, 9 to 7 G. 7, 9, 11, and then the 10th fret on the B string. But actually, I think it's easier because if you lead with your ring finger from that 9 to 11 slide, your middle finger is lined up right there. So now we're getting a 3rd finger into this because everything else that we've been able to do is just 2 fingers, right? Pointer, ring, ring, pointer, ring, pointer, pointer, ring, ring, pointer, like that, right? But then when we do it on the D string, it's actually kind of easier because you can kind of, just run to it and then get that other middle finger in the game, all right? So depending on where you root this lick, it's going to have different effects. So in one key, you can do this on the first note and the fourth note of the scale, right? So G, A, B, C. So in this key, the key of G, it works starting on a G or a C. Now, you might ask why that is. Well, there's only 3 notes in a key that become major chords, and this is essentially kind of like a major arpeggio, spelling out a major chord with single notes. Now, the other chord that we haven't talked about yet is the 5 chord in any key. So let's do that same thing starting on the 5 chord in G. G, A, B, C, D. G, A, B, C, D, right? So if we start on that 5 chord here, D, so far we've got D, E, F sharp, A, which is fine, but then right there, that note, the 11th fret on the D string, is a C sharp, okay? So that's in the key of D and not in the key of G. So if you want to stay just using the notes in one key, it doesn't technically work on the 5 chord, but you get all the notes that you need just by doing it and bouncing back and forth between the 1 and the 4 chord, okay? And again, you know, this is, you don't have to keep just with this kind of 2 fret thing. I think it's really valuable just to maybe take something that you understand conceptually. And again, I think this is a really easy one to do because it's like a cool little, you know, riff. It sounds good. You can do it down a string. If you drill it, you'll notice that you get better at it like really, really quickly. And then again, you can take the same philosophy of this and then apply it to different things. Like for instance, if you wanted to add D's position in the key of G, you would just have to compensate for that C sharp, right? So in the key of G, D has a C and not a C sharp. So the way you could remember that is maybe do that 10 to 12. So again, when I do it just like that, it doesn't really sound right because it's taking away what our ears have learned as far as the pattern goes. But I just wanted to make a note of that because if you do it on the 5 chord, technically you're introducing a note that is not in that key. But it's still, you know, you can still get away with it and it sounds fine. But you can do this really thinking about any of the chords because you're learning all the notes that go in this key. And even though we're starting on major rooted notes, that doesn't mean we have to just stay there. So let's take an A in the key of G because that's actually where we ended up. An A right there, that note's an A. But the chord starting on an A in G major is a minor chord, right? So I want to talk about why this interval is so important, that 2 fret, 1 whole step interval, because you don't really ever have to reach any farther than 2 frets on guitar. That's like something that's really interesting to me because, like, let's start with that A, right? The 3rd note in A minor, A, B, C, is a C natural. So that would be a 3 fret stretch. A, B, C, right? Well, to access that minor 3rd, you could actually do it from here. Going 3 frets higher on one string is the same as going down a string 2 frets back, right? So you could also do the same kind of 2-finger, lick technique starting on a minor chord, right? All I'm doing now is I'm using my ring finger first and then going pointer finger down a string. And that right there, I'm still just using the odd numbered frets, but I'm really kind of spelling out an A minor chord. A, C, D, E, G. And again, I'm using extra notes, right? I have a root note, a minor 3rd, a perfect 4th and 5th, and then a minor 7. So maybe that's like an A minor 7 chord or an A minor 9 chord even, something like that. But I think that's like the utility of seeing it as just 2 frets at a time that you can move back and forth all the time is something that you're never ever going to forget, okay? So always remember, no matter where you are in a key or a scale, the right note that you're looking for is only going to be, it's going to be really close. You just might have to go down or back through the strings, but starting to learn even scales this way minor. And then again, there's the octave. I can do the minor. And then just do that same kind of pattern, and then compensating to the B string just by going diagonally back a fret, I think is super, super important. So again, it's just, a little 2-fret hack that you can get, and it's something that anybody can benefit from just by drilling it a few times. Just do me a favor, just try to drill it a couple times for 5 minutes, and you'll get better within 5 minutes. It's really hard to improve on guitar substantially in 5 minutes of practicing, but like I promise you, if you just drill, like you'll be able to get that and then be able to incorporate it into your chords and stuff. And it just sounds more fun. And it's just, if you're all hyped up on caffeine like I am most of the time, it's a great way to kind of get those jitters out in a very productive way. So thank you to Elixir Strings for sponsoring this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.